Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to continue the series I started with Pisces. So understanding all the male in the zodiac, every male in the zodiac, and understanding every female in the zodiac. These are mini videos, FYI. I will be getting more in depth on my Substack. Now, that being said, let's talk about the male Leo. Let's mention some famous ones. So we have, just to give you an idea, Sean Penn, Robert De Niro, Edward Norton, E. Glock, Shawn Mendes, Ben Affleck. That being said, now let's go and talk about a little bit about this Leo guy and then what he's looking for. I will be doing a video on, Leo men and attraction and, lots of other videos about Leos and romance and stuff, but let's understand him a little bit more. So this is a complicated fellow. I would say that if you are in love with a Leo man, you need a lot of patience. And I do want to say, super important, the Leo male will be explored in this video, not the Leo female. She is a very different creature. All right, so the Leo male, you would think, would seem like someone very isolated, but they're not. They're very choosy. They're always surrounded by a group of people. And what's odd is, if you look closely, the people that they choose to surround themselves with, their circles, they usually have like maybe two important circles, they kind of reflect in some way what he needs or what he's looking for, or maybe the way that he feels in their presence. So he's very choosy in his ring of people, which is not really seen in other zodiac signs. There are other zodiac signs that, are very particular with their crowd. For example, Taurus, but there's different reasons. Leo, it's on a subconscious level almost, they brighten him up, or it's something that he kind of feels understood. There's something like a hidden dimension really in how he chooses his people. Now, let's talk a little bit about him growing up. Most Leo men growing up have a difficult start. They are very good sons. They usually have a very respectful connection to the mother, but they do have father issues. The love they have for the father is very big, but a lot of them were either abandoned by the father, or maybe they lost their father young, or there's more combinations, but I'll get more into that when I do the deep dive. But essentially there's something kind of painful, bittersweet, when it comes to that, the father connection. And at the same time, much like the female Aquarius, there's this, I would say this like whimsical, illusionary, it's kind of like the way that they grow up, kind of like thinking about the dad or envisioning dad bond is a lot with the imagination. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like what they kind of wish. A lot of their emotional needs with the dad are not met. So they daydream in little bits and pieces growing up, what that would be like, there is a little bit with Sagittarius males with that, female Aquarius, a little bit of that, but mainly, obviously this is understanding the Leo male. So with that, there's a lot of things that the Leo had to do to heal himself. In fact, he appears a very well put together fellow. He isn't the type of person to sit there and vocalize and verbalize all the things that went wrong or what he needs. He doesn't really do that. He seems very well composed. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the romance, all right? He is very traditional. So if you are extra spicy and you are one of these females that, come from these other warmer signs, where you really need, adventurous, you know, a lot of displays of flirtation and stuff like that. Leo's not your guy. And if he is, then you got to be patient because he's not like that. Yes, he can be very romantic in certain ways. I believe all the male zodiac signs, all 12 of them, have their own way and style and language of romance. You just have to understand and watch closely. So with a Leo, they're very good gift givers. They have very good taste to when they're romancing a woman. They do it just very tastefully. They aim to please, and they usually get 100 stars because they know how to do that. They, in a relationship, he expects. He's looking for his queen, he has an expectation of what the woman has to be like and what they're going to be together. And the expectation is, he wants to feel like he wants to be with a woman that's very, very nature, very down to earth, natural is what when I said nature, natural, very down to earth. Yes, he likes a woman put together and sophisticated and all that, but he really he's a lot more simple than his sign pumps him up to be. You can't take the Leo female and the Leo male and group them into a group and say that you understand Leo, because you're going to be dead wrong. Leo males are very different. And he's not looking for someone that is very showy. In fact, he's not into that. He's a lot more simple and a lot more routine and humble in the way that he really is. And he's not showy. But when it comes to when he's being spoken to by someone who he feels like is kind of probing him, or he feels his guard is up, he will definitely put on a very strong part of his character, and you will feel like this big. He can be very authoritarian. So if there's a female who is an alpha dealing with a Leo, in a relationship with a Leo, or courting a Leo, dating a Leo, seeing a Leo male, is going to be very hard. So it's not like he likes this simple mousy pushover. Absolutely not. He needs his queen. But there's a limit, because he doesn't want somebody louder than him, Not that he's loud. It's not what I mean. It's just his essence, the way he is. He doesn't want anyone overpowering, overbearing, being more than his decisions. He likes, a classy woman that will be on his arm and will share his life with him, and not sit there, stressing and, like I said, the alpha. It's not really what he's looking for if she's very showy. So that can really make the relationship harder. Instead, he's, kind of like, it's funny because Martha Stewart, she's a female Leo, and female Leos are like the opposite of Leo males in some instances. But her vibe, I guess, it would suit a male Leo. So she's homey, but she's also fancy, a little bit like that. So she's a really good example. But again, Leo and Leo, no. Now, I don't want to worry anybody if you're in a relationship with a Leo, because, I'll get into compatibility later. Yes, it can be quite spicy at first and very interesting, but it can be very challenging to stay in that relationship. All right, so moving forward and talking a little bit more about his romantic choices. So yeah, a lot of times they like a really nice figure and slender female, But don't be fooled. Leo is not intimidated by the curvy diva. Out of all the zodiac signs, Leo males are one that if he happens to like a woman who is a little bit more fluffy around the edges, a little bit more meat on the bones, it doesn't faze them. They are not intimidated by that. So they usually go for the slender figure, but they are not one to really just say, oh no, I'm a fat phobe and that's it. No, I think they're fat phobic for themselves. I think themselves, they are a lot more, worried about how they look in a way. You'll always see that, Leo males pretty much have a pretty normal figure. A heavy Leo, it's not really as common. And they have this somewhat health conscious, somewhat. They're not, really high on that list for that, but they do have it. But usually they look pretty good, pretty lean throughout their life. They're not one that really stands out being, really, really thin or really overweight. They really have, pretty much in the middle there, and then they maintain that pretty good. Now let's talk about other things with romance. What he's looking for is, Leos tend to, most of them, have been known to marry their high school sweetheart sometimes, or sometimes the first woman that he really is enamored with. They are not really into kind of like trying every flavor of the month. They're not really, Leo males are very choosy. Let's talk about a little bit more about intimacy, since this is, love astrology. So when a Leo male is courting a woman and the woman thinks, okay, he's not being like really antsy with that, smoochy stuff, what's going on? Leo males are like that. They will hold back. They're very traditional. They may try the patience of the female a bit. Some female signs might be like, hey, what's going on? And they may be like, okay, so that could be an issue for some signs. If you crush on a Leo guy and he's not really seeming intimately affectionate, pursuing that, there's a reason why. He's very traditional and very choosy. He will, but you have to have patience. And when he does, then you'll understand how he is. So so don't be thinking that it's you or that he's not interested. You have to be very patient with that, and you will know, and you will get into a routine and stuff like that. But that can affect sometimes. I've had clients come in, oh, I like this Leo, and he hasn't like even tried to like, kiss me or anything. And I'm like, oh, just be patient. He's trying other things. Now, sometimes, whether they admit it or not, they could be very choosy in when they are dating somebody. He may put you through tests, which is very annoying, and they may not admit it, but it's true. They do. I want to go more into like his social life and his upbringing and different types of Leos according to the decans, which is how you really divide the signs, so you understand them deeper. But I don't have enough time in this video. I don't want to make it too long. Essentially, they are very romantic gift givers. They are very romantic with detail, and they're very sensitive. And when they are quiet and sulking, you really don't want to hang around them because they will kind of bring you down too. Sometimes they can have certain impulsive behaviors. And that just means that you have to, realize what's going on underneath. They're not always going to admit it. So attracting a Leo, being in a relationship with a Leo guy, maintaining that relationship, those are all different videos because it gets complicated. So in this one, I just wanted to give you an overall view, of what Leo is. They're very gentle, And they do have temper tantrums. They have, you know, they're known to have their temper tantrums, and they're known to sulk and brood and then bring you along with the misery for a while. So you just have to be very patient, and some of them can have addictive behaviors. It's one of the signs that can have them, you know, sometimes with something financial too. We'll talk more about that. That doesn't, you know, that doesn't mean that, you know, they all have that, but it's something that, you know, you have to be, if you're going to connect with a Leo male, be prepared to be patient and understand him very deeply, so that you can really cushion that relationship. And if he frustrates you in the beginning, you may not want to pursue something long term. You want to think about that, because if it's frustrating you in the beginning, that means that there's some kind of static there. So you either have to learn to go around it, or, you know, balance it more. And it just, we're going to talk about different signs that are more compatible with Leo and how they are. All right, so if you have any questions, leave them below. There's so much stuff, guys, and it's such a limited time, but hopefully you enjoyed this series, and I will talk to you in the next one. You can always reach my Substack for more astrology stuff. Bye, guys.